episode 83 of One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing the Broadway revival of Alan Jay Lerner and Frederick Loewe's musical Camelot with a new book by Aaron Sorkin. Directed by Bartlett Sher, it is running at Lincoln Center Theater at the Vivian Beaumont at 150 West 65th Street in New York City. Now, on a personal note, growing up in Moreno Valley, California, I stumbled across Camelot on television. Not the movie, but a recording of the actual original stage musical. As far as I remember, it was the first musical I ever saw, even before Annie, I'm sure. There was something of a mythical quality about seeing Camelot, a staged production of Camelot, that has stuck with me for all these years since. Based on T.H. White's The Once and Future King, Camelot is Lerner and Loewe's Ode to King Arthur, here played by Andrew Burnap, his knights, and his Queen Guinevere, played by Philippa Sue. The first act follows Arthur's first meeting of Guinevere, his forming of the Knights of the Round Table, and the budding forbidden affection Guinevere has with one of the knights, Lancelot du Lac, played by Jordan Donica. The second act is 1 year later and focuses on the budding affair between Guinevere and Lancelot, and the arrival of Mordred, Arthur's bastard son from a relationship he had with Morgan Le Fay, played by Marilee Talkington, when he was 15 before he drew Excalibur from the fabled stone that made him king. Mordred, played by Taylor Trench, uses the budding romance between Guinevere and Lancelot in an attempt to bring down Arthur's reign. 63 years after its original Broadway production, Loewe's music and Lerner's lyrics continue to have a profound richness and color that modern Broadway composers wish they could capture. With a 30-piece orchestra, the lush textures of songs like The Simple Joys of Maidenhood, The Lusty Month of May, and If Ever I Would Leave You fill the Vivian Beaumont with majestic mythical wonder. If only the book by Sorkin was able to do the same thing. I get that there were problems with the original book by Alan Jay Lerner. It was overlong and rambled with overdrawn soliloquies that could have been better expressed in musical numbers, as Jonas Schwartz of Theater Mania once eloquently put it. But now, wow, if you're going to revise the book of Camelot, this is not the way to do it. All the magic is gone, both literally and figuratively. Merlin, Morgan, and Mordred have no magical qualities at all. Instead, we get humanist interpretations of the character where Morgan, who was originally a sorceress, is described as a, quote, scientist, a word that would not be used in this context until nearly 700 years later during the Age of Enlightenment. According to the articles in the Lincoln Center Theater Review's Spring 2023 issue, this is all intentional, obviously. Sorkin isn't an idiot, and I know he does his research, and the anachronisms are intentional. The thing is, this leads to another problem, which is his intention to make Arthur and Guinevere's marriage an allegory for modern-day political marriages, where love may not exist, but for the better of each other and the good of the people, they stay together. As Arthur tactlessly describes it, their marriage is a business arrangement between him and the King of France, which wasn't actually France at the time, but that's another matter altogether. Regardless, the concept of Arthur and Guinevere having what is essentially a loveless marriage goes completely against the narrative of the score and lyrics in the titular song Camelot, which is supposed to be a flirtation between the two. If the two don't fall in love at the beginning, the romantic tension dies, for there is none. The problem lies in that the music wants to push a romance, but the book is saying no. There are moments of romance between Arthur and Guinevere, but only when they are singing together, and as soon as Sorkin's book kicks back in, it dies. Another issue with the book is the language feels unnatural to the score, which of course makes sense because the lyricist, Alan Jay Lerner, wrote the original book. So he had an understanding of the language on both sides, both musically and textually. In spite of the new concept for Camelot, the cast try their best to make it work, especially Philippa Sue, who is further proving herself to be the heir apparent of Broadway royalty as Guinevere. She captures Guinevere's disparate desires to have a life of adventure and frivolity, like during the lusty month of May, as well as holding herself with a posture of regality. Jordan Donica has a profound sexual strength as Lancelot. Even though he claims celibacy, he displays an ego fraught with lust, and it's fantastic. Andrew Burnap is at times excellent as Arthur, though in a certain ironic fashion, he looks a little young for the role, even though he is in real life at exactly the age Arthur would be in his early 30s. I'd almost want him aged just a hair, but that's a nitpick, I think. The design is both beautiful and frustrating. There are gorgeous medieval arches reaching over the top of the stage to depict the castle of Camelot. And then the show opens with a snowfall and knights appear all clad in black, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm no longer watching Camelot but Wagner's Parsifal. It's a very stoic concept. It's not until the lusty month of May that any real expression of color appears. Yeah, I get it, it's November at the top of the show and May when that specific song starts, but the look until then feels lifeless. Once we do reach the lusty month of May, Jennifer Moeller really gets to shine with her costuming. She gives Sue some absolutely excellent dresses, and the knights' armor clink and clank throughout. Again, in a matter of historical accuracy, this isn't exactly what armor looked like at that time, but I'll admit it looks great. Camelot is a big letdown for me. I've always been a fan of Lerner and Loewe, and I have never seen a production of the musical live and in person until now. Though the trio of leads give a valiant effort to give the show the necessary weight it needs to keep it going, Sorkin's new book kills the magic and the romance. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you're interested in seeing Camelot, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Hop on over to my Patreon page, to which I'll have a link in the description for that as well, where you can support my channel. If you're broke, like I am, you can support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the Broadway production of Peter Pan Goes Wrong. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you at the theater.